John, just remember there is no cockroach.
Yo, YouTube, welcome to First Time Watching Matrix Revolutions, coming to you from right here on the Comic John YouTube channel, and it is an absolute privilege to have you joining us from all around the world. I'm your host, your director of distraction, your coordinator of confusion, John Hassinger. And with me, as always, on First Time Watching, live from South Carolina, your Nicaraguan Neo, Cornelio Manjarres, a.k.a. CJ. CJ, I love your drapes. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Thank you, brother. My pleasure, like always.
And also joining us from the Palmetto State, my spiritual Han Solo, Andrew Benfer. Andrew, it is wonderful to see you and your beard could make it today.
It's always a pleasure.
Now, you must be asking yourself, what is the show First Time Watching all about? It's easy. We pick movies we hold near and dear to our hearts and watch them, but for at least one of us, it's our first time watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, tell your grandmother, make sure to ask her about her first time watching the Matrix trilogy, and share with us your experiences. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Have you not seen it and need to have your own version of first time watching? Because last night was my first time watching Matrix Revolutions. That's a lie, it was a couple weeks ago, but for the sake of the show, it was last night, Matrix Revolutions. I finished it. My initial thoughts. I don't know if I can say this is my favorite one, but this one held my attention, and maybe it's because it's the third one and I'm very familiar with everything. But I felt like the pace of this movie, I never looked away, and I'm very easily distracted. And I watched it on my phone because I was like in bed, and I was like, I'll just see if I can finish this laying here, and I'll probably fall asleep midway. And I didn't. I watched it all the way to the end. Obviously, I have got a lot of questions for you guys. We'll save those we'll get to those in just a bit. Tell me, CJ, what about this movie? What were your lasting impressions? What are they?
So I don't blame you. For me, it's the third least favorite out of the three. I love what they tried to do on the movie, which was incorporate Zion more and the world of Zion. And that desire to know more, for example, is when they introduced the big machine guns, the big robots with the machine guns. I thought that was amazing. Yeah, I thought it was great. I'm like, but you put it on the third movie, you put it in at the end, and it felt like they just dumped all that on us. I wish it would have been introduced earlier on. I mean, I like the movie. I like the way it ended. I like what the whole movie was about. It was my third favorite out of the three.
I'm a big fan of like mechs, so a lot of those battle scenes were pretty awesome. I would have liked to have seen more of that, but I think part of the mystery going through these films is like the sprinkling of hearing about Zion, and we kind of have to build our own faith as we're building through these three movies. So once we get in there and we understand that, like, this amazing Zion place that Morpheus and the gang just keeps talking about, and how amazing a place it is, and we get there and we realize that, like, the people there really aren't much different. Like we mentioned in the second episode, or second movie, where it talks about you obviously have different factions of believers and not, and it's just interesting to see how like our reality they are, even though they're honestly a lot worse off comparatively, but they hold together as a really solid community. So I just thought it was a good, again, just like Cornelius said, a good third installment. I thought it did a lot of really awesome things. Introduced some new characters, strengthened some. I mean, the kid, I don't even know his name. It was a kid that Neo saved that had that, had a couple of pretty good scenes. I don't want to, reveal them too early now, but I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a really fun film. I enjoyed it.
Very little films, very small amount of films. You are left with the desire of more. There's some trilogies, there's some great movies out there which are well respected on their own, and that's it though. The story holds it on its own, and you got enough of it, and there's no more where to go. I believe this one introduced so much in the third movie of what it could have been, which there were always talks about other shows, a spin-off, and never nothing materialized. So I'm excited that the fourth is coming and hopefully opens the door for other spin-offs and other things in it, in the world of Matrix. They did the comics.
Wasn't there an animated series?
There was an animated series, yeah, the Animatrix, and they did the Enter the Matrix, the video game, right? But the video game, it just gives you another angle of the same storyline that was happening. I just
Oh.
thought that, they introduced enough of Zion that I thought that I would have liked to see more.
You both mentioned the big suits, the big giant armor suits. I kept calling them Hulkbuster suits because that's just what it reminded me of from Age of Ultron or whatever the heck. It was crazy when all of a sudden there was like 800 of them in those suits.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, they really stuck with the machines. But I love what you pointed out, Andrew. It's like no matter how small the society, they're not all going to be on the same page. That's just like the blessing and curse of humanity. So question number one, my first query. Okay, so Neo is like in a coma. It was like seconds after the second one ended. And Neo's laying there and there's some other guy laying there, Bane, I think his name is. But they're saying that like his brain is active and then they jump over to that subway. So is Neo like wireless? Like, does he not have to be hooked into the Matrix? Wow.
It's
Wow.
Wi-Fi.
He's like evolving just like the telephone did.
But if you don't mind, I'm gonna throw something at you there. I think it's perfect, and this is a big theory that came out right after the movie, and if you get in any chat rooms and stuff, I remember at the time this was a big deal because of that. It's wireless. Neo is the one, so he has this power that transcends the machines. There's one theory that I'm excited to see if that's what they're gonna carry over for the fourth. That even people in Zion are still hooked up. That the machines, so Neo being able to control this because he's actually still inside the Matrix. Everybody's inside the Matrix.
So this is like Inception, where they would dream and then fall asleep in their dream.
Because the machines figure out those who are okay with being plugged up and they can work well in the Matrix. And then they say, well, instead of fighting the revolution, let's just give them a revolution. And now they're going to think that they are unhooked, but they're actually hooked. So that's Neo is not actually wireless. He's still wired, but in the second level of the Matrix.
Whoa.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy. I've never heard that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard some crazy rumors. They just started shooting today in, I think, like Paris, or I forget. I sent you guys an article. I didn't read it because it said something about the Oracle, so I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to get into spoilers, so I just was excited that they're starting to film. I believe, when does that come out? Do you guys know?
2021, being the same day than John Wick, so it should be 2021, right? That's when now we know is Keanu Reeves Day. I don't know the date.
Okay, so I think it's in May of 2021. God,
we need to request day off already at work.
Oh yeah, a year and a half advance.
18 months from now, I need that day off.
I don't think I've ever had a release day that's back to back. That's not just the same film. Back in the day when I didn't have children, I'd do back to back Star Wars or Marvel or something like that.
Totally.
This might be the first time that it's a back to back of like actual separate films releasing. So
right.
This is the first time I've thought about how exciting that is, so I may actually put that day off in already.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'm going to do the same thing, and I am going to watch the John Wick trilogy because I haven't seen any of that.
You should just come to South Carolina. I've got to pull out bed couch right on the other side of this computer.
I feel like we should, all three of us, do a double feature, a Keanu double feature, and then jump on here and talk for 8 hours. Was Neo trapped in that subway, and why?
Well, I mean, as we saw a little bit later in the scenes, the train man, was that what he was called, right?
Yeah.
Train man. That was his world. We've seen Neo overpower practically everyone he's faced up to this point. Once he's understood who he is and his untapped potential, right? But he very clearly says like, "Hey, I'm God down here. Like I created this. I'm the creator of this environment. I know everything about this environment. So just sit down, boy."
Yeah. He's not only trapped. This is what I like about the train man scene in both movies, Reloaded and in Revolutions. I believe the train man, Neo being powerless against the train man, is as significant as Neo still bleeding in Reloaded. Because when he bleeds, when he's fighting against the monsters, and the Frenchman says, "See, he's still just a man because his hand is bleeding." I think it brings him back down like, okay, you're the savior. We all think you're the savior, but there's aspects of you that haven't got to where you are just the ultimate being. So one in the Red Loaded is you still bleed, you still a man. On Revolutions, that scene of the Trainman show saying there's still areas of this world that you cannot control.
Wow. Okay, so that train man basically, what was he? Just like a machine or a program that just invented
Yes.
that little bridge of like purgatory.
And the theory that I always had with the Trainman is, so he listens just to the Frenchman. And we have determined that in the second movie that the Frenchman is most likely an earlier version of Neo.
Right.
The Frenchmen figure out if other Neos are going to come, I need to have a way for me to control them. I need to have a way for me to decide who comes in and comes out. And I'm going to create something that would stop me from doing it. So that's why he created or allowed the Trainman to create that world.
Oh, wow. I love it. CJ, why now? This just could be because they had a dispute with the actress, but why does the Oracle look different?
It wasn't a dispute. She died.
Oh, I was
Passed
just
away.
going to say, or maybe she passed away. I'm starting to remember that.
Yeah,
that
she passed away.
Whoa! But didn't they write it into the story that there was a
It was
reason?
genius. Yes, it was a genius reason.
Because it was like she was punished or something, so it was basically like she was replaced, still doing the same job, but it's like a new version.
Yeah, because she had helped Neo and helped that group out. That was her punishment.
Well, but I understood it as actually she was just in hiding, and her it was not like a punishment on her. She decided to look different because she now was being persecuted.
I could see that better.
And that's when Mr. Smith says, you thought that this new look was going to help you.
Oh.
So.
Oh, okay. So she could remain anonymous.
Yeah, she can still keep doing what she was doing. So she's in a different location and all that. But then eventually ends up in the same location.
But then wouldn't you have changed yourself to like a 12-year-old white boy? You really instead of just another old black lady?
Well, that's the thing. Trinity and Morpheus, when they see her, they look at each other like, you don't look like who remember. Now, they only see that level of the Matrix. Neo, when he sees it, says, you recognize me, he says, parts of you. Remember, Neo doesn't see the front. He sees the coding, right? He sees the back writing and all that.
For me, in this...
So she's still the same. Sorry. So she could have been like 12-year-old little girl, but their coding, which she is a code, would have been recognizable.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing that changed was the appearance. There's a whole bunch of other numbers and symbols that he's recognizing.
I don't think it was a bad actress choice for this. I just felt like her cadence and delivery of things broke that, not mystery, I don't know the word. It broke that experience for me a little bit. It felt like at times she was trying too hard or she talked too fast, if that makes sense. It didn't feel right to me 100% of the time.
For such an iconic character to expect the audience to just all of a sudden, accept this new actress, this new portrayal, even as close as it was, I agree. It was kind of weird, but as the movie went on and I saw more of her, I started warming up to her easily.
Yeah, this has happened before. You guys remember another series, Harry Potter?
Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm. The original Dumbledore passed away.
Oh yeah.
And but when it's a character so big, long beard, wide, everything like that, it's easy to hide it.
Yeah.
It's like we give Cornelio a beard and a hat, and he just looks like me, right?
Exactly. Now, why does Smith call the Oracle Mom? Because is it like she created him?
I'll let Cornelio elaborate, but I'll at least kick him off. So if you'll remember in the conversation
I'll get
him loosened up. Yeah. In the conversation that Neo had with the architect, and he talked about, if I'm the father, she's the mother of the Matrix. And then that's when it's like, oh, you're talking about the Oracle, right? So that's that whole thing. And to be honest, I thought that was such a fun scene, like that, all that back and forth with like the cookies. Well, why'd you pick the cookies and put them on the table? And you knew I was going to just smash them against the wall. I love that scene. I watched it a couple of times in a row. It was just great.
Me too. I love that scene.
he loses character. It's hilarious. I mean, not purposely, but he loses the cool character with the sunglasses, and I'm just
He gets
gonna
a little
always talk
crazy.
very slowly. He gets
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
It's
a little
like
crazy.
she touches nerve like a mom. Like we can piss off our kids if we want to. But yeah, Andy
Right.
was completely right. It is that. I believe that she brings balance too. Like, that's what she said. If one is a structure, you need one that does chaos. She's the one that brings the chaos. And the Smith, now remember, Smith is now becoming all-knowing. Because he's the Antichrist, he's the all-knowing, and he knows now who she really is, and maybe what her purpose is as well. So that's why he knew who she was.
And then he just stuck his fingers in her
Oh.
and just created a new version of a copy of himself,
Mhm.
destroying the Oracle, or so we think.
Yeah,
We s-
becoming her. So remember when he walks in the room and says, she's asking, was a little girl, and one of the Smiths says, "Oh, we love cookies. I love cookies." That's a little girl. So whenever Smith turns into somebody else, he really doesn't lose who they were. They don't become just him. He just assimilates part of them. So when he gets into the Oracle, now he knows everything the Oracle knows.
Is that why at the end when he's like, "You're standing right there.
I've seen this happen.
And I say, all that ends or all that beginnings has an end or something. And then he's like, what did I just say? Because like something jumped out of him.
That's her. Yeah, exactly. And then he says, I've seen this before. It's him. He is the Oracle in him. He can see what the Oracle does. That's why he's been copying everybody. And that's why he grows so fast, because he knows more, and he goes.
I think he is, without a doubt, one of the best villains
Mhm.
in cinematic history.
Mhm.
And finding out that he's not going to be in Matrix 4, I was so happy. Because don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Let him have his thing that he's and say they do 6 more Matrix movies. 20 years from now, my kid's going to be going and watching Matrix 10, and she's going to be like, "Oh, the villain is so good." I'm going to be like, "You have no idea. The real villain is from the original trilogy," and she'll go back and probably have the same,
You're
Mr.
right.
Anderson.
And then she watches Fast and Furious 34 and it's like, this dude's so attractive. He's such a great driver. Well, if you'd seen Vin Diesel in my day.
I'll be like, let me tell you about this guy named The Rock. So just to be clear, Bane is Smith in a human body.
Yes.
So almost like a cyborg, like a digital cyborg.
Yeah, like an avatar. And what I love about it, I completely love about it. So yeah, but what I love is the actor did such a good job of copying the mannerism and even the way he does the mouth like this. Dude. Like Mr. Anderson. Oh, I cannot do it. You're good. Yes, that was convinced.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. And then he talks to his ear, and you like, oh man, that's him. He did such a great job. That actor deserves more credit for it, because he was pretending to be an actor, pretending to be a character. It's perfect.
Yes. It's kind of like Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr.
I just, that's another movie I need to go back and watch. I'm the dude.
Me too.
I tried to watch that movie and didn't realize how bad it was, and ended up watching it with Pamela when we were dating, and her parents were like sitting behind us in the living room. We barely got 5 minutes into that movie, and I was like, let's watch The Incredible Hulk. And that was like one of the first one that was terrible. And I was like, can we watch this instead? This is really embarrassing. This is inappropriate.
Definitely not a movie to have around parents.
No, I was just thinking about something. So I'd never thought about the Matrix within a Matrix, like Inception thought, or fan
crazy
theory that Cornel was talking about. So to back up a little bit and talk about how the architect knew something that would trigger Neo to get trapped into that environment, right? So if it's Matrix within a Matrix, we saw Neo realize his power to stop the Sentinels, and him passing out in that moment was what triggered him to end up in that environment, right? That was the scene right
that's
before.
What it was, right? You're right.
Yeah.
So
that's what it was.
He knew his unlocking potential within this next layer. Again, this is all speculation for anyone watching. if anyone's watching. There's this extra layer, right?
Almost at 50.
Maybe
Hey.
exactly. Maybe that next layer of the Matrix is where in the coding it realized, like, hey, at the point that he realizes his actual potential, this is when, oh shit, we got a problem. Like, we need to actually like get him into that box. The other layer to that, and I just lost that train of thought. There was another thought that I had that kind of leaned into that. Oh, you talked about the whole cyborg thing with Mr. Smith. You know, it's we're thinking only in the fact outside of this fan theory, we're only thinking about the fact that that's a human brain ejected from the Matrix. But if this is a whole another layer, then you're talking tech definitely can go from one surface layer to the next deeper layer. So I think those two things, and there's probably more, I mean, support that theory. I would love to see that. I mean, I love the movie Inception, so anything that makes you really think about it that much deeper, I'm all about.
It totally leaves a lot of room for expansion.
Because one thing that I remember, the fandom during that period, right, 2003, 2004.
Yeah, what are the Matrix fanboys like? Are they crazy like the Star Wars ones? Do they hate each other?
I don't know. They look like me, and we have, drapes that look like I'm in a bathroom. No, that's who we are. We have plants in our kitchen. Yeah. It's very normal. So I'm a very closeted Matrix fan. I mean, this is my outlet here, but just so you know, MySpace, I had coded it to be the Matrix lines falling whenever you come in. A lot of people have done that, and mine was the entire page. You enter into my MySpace page, and it was all the numbers and everything falling. So that's
awesome.
Back in the day. But at this moment, the reason why I remember that theory being so popular is because there is something about the Matrix. You do have the digital aspect of the Matrix, which is the Matrix, and then you have the real world Zion. Even though there was a prophecy done and there was a faith belief, it was a tech movie. And when you put the aspect of within Zion, so in the real world, you can stop things with his hands, and now he's carrying like a magical aspect into the movie, you lose that techie part of it. Saying that this is a Matrix within a Matrix not only actually makes a lot of sense, but it also keeps defending, okay, we're still in the tech world. You don't have people with powers. The only time that they can do anything crazy is in the digital world because you control the digital coding of it. I remember for me, that was the thing I liked it much better than believing that he could actually stop things in the real world. Because then, like, okay, it's not a tech movie anymore. Now it's a magical movie. And when that theory, I remember looking at the theory the first time, I was like, that only makes sense. But thank you, because it's still the tech world. So,
right, it gives it more weight.
It keeps it techie, and it's not magical, and there's no unicorns, because at that moment you can believe whatever you want to.
Right, then the rules are out the window. Exactly. Now, why does he have cuts on his arm to kind of like show himself that he's like alive and that he's not like a machine, that he's like entered into this human's brain?
I think it's a good assumption, just feeling the pain itself and understanding it, because obviously he didn't have it beforehand. Well, I don't know that wasn't the same crew, but it stood out to them as odd. So
I think that also there's a struggle on the brain, because he starts normal and he just had thoughts of that he doesn't understand what those thoughts are, and he explained that in during the fight. He says this thought that is eating at yourself, and you keep thinking it. There's a part in which he says that. I think that it was probably part of self-mutilation. Unfortunately, is a mental struggle that people have, and I think that was a good way to show it. Him just struggling with two minds at that moment. He has his mind, and then he has another mind, a completely evil mind inside him.
Right, like a Ultron and Jarvis in the same brain. What was my other question? So when he loses his eyes, but then it was almost like he could see better, or like he reached like a new upgrade. Isn't there a story in the Bible? Someone goes blind and then becomes a saint, but like before that he was like this piece of shit. I thought it was kind of like once he was blind, then he could actually see.
Well, and I think the real world becomes less of a distraction, because I mean, if we want to loosely try and tie something biblical, I mean, the Bible does talk about the fact that if your eyes are distractions of what's actually being encouraged of you by Christ to actually do in your life, if you're seeing things that are unclean, then pluck it from your head. right? So that distraction removal, he now only has the choice of seeing the real, the actual real. I'm just making a wild assumption. Cornelio's got a better thought, I'm sure.
No, I just thought of this, and I just went crazy. So that whole theory, the Matrix within the Matrix, probably that confirms it. I don't know why I never
Right.
thought of this.
Right. That's
You-
what I was just about to say.
That's actually confirmed it because it goes from my eyes see the face of the coding, the UI, the user interaction. Now that I don't have that, I can see the actual coding behind it. Like he's looking at the Matrix within the Matrix, just like he does when he's inside the Matrix.
I want to make another fan theory, or I want to make a fan theory. Sorry, I don't mean to like be an interrupting cow, but I have to say this because I think it'd be pretty awesome. So we've already seen. I'm gonna make
Cow.
some silly statements here, but we've already seen where multiverses work in the film world, right? In some regard, right?
Yeah.
We've also seen where Wreck-It Ralph has been very successful at having arcade universes that connect to one. Who's to say that what we've seen in the city that looks like New York or whatever it is,
Right.
that's probably not the only instance, right? Like there's somebody else that's like in a World of Warcraft world. Like that they're living a different experience because that's how they're wired to give them the best source of power for the machines to run. So who's to say we're only seeing the one thing? Like
What?
it might not be the only
Wow.
Matrix, right? This next layer could be this is the top level, right? And this is just one sub level we've seen. There's like a whole one here, there's one here, and
It's
here.
like
and here.
Westworld, where like
Like
there's a whole
Westworld,
bunch of
yes.
other worlds.
I want
other
this to
matrices.
happen. That
wow.
needs to happen. If it doesn't, I'm fine, but that would be pretty cool.
And they could turn
Well-
it into a 50 movie franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I know, I mean that'd be awesome because I'm wondering what the fourth is gonna be about, and we'll get there at on your last question, John. Because I would like to, if you guys don't mind, I would like to talk about what we think that the fourth is gonna be like. Because all right, let's get there. Let's finish this first, and then
Okay.
yeah.
Real quick, what happened to Bane when he died from Neo's point of view? Like he just kind of it was like he was snapped by Thanos. He just kind of like drifted away.
Yeah.
Is that just nothing? That just he just died that way. What I loved about this movie, this is kind of like in closing my comments, the callbacks to the previous movies in the trilogy are great because they don't overdo it. It's not like they just keep slapping you over the head with remember this and remember that and remember this guy, you said that before. They only do that sporadically, and I loved it. I thought for sure they leave it open at the end for a Matrix 4 because the Oracle and the Architect are talking, and they kind of reference something's going to happen again. But how is the Oracle alive? Is it because of what Neo did?
You know, was the Oracle alive at the end? It was a deal that he made with the Matrix. He said with the machines. I'm sorry. Neo said everything goes back to normal. Remember, if
First snap.
Agent Smith hasn't fully taken every aspect of the Matrix. He just kind of put a shell over it.
Right.
And so as soon as they can destroy him, everything goes back to normal. And then the machines have to back up. That's the deal with the with him sacrificing. At the end of the movie, she says, "We will. I'm sure we'll see him again." You know, the little girl asks, "We will ever gonna see Neo again?" And she says, "Sure, we're gonna see him again." At that moment,
Okay.
movies with 4 sequels, with 4 movie,
It's
were
not
not
common.
that popular, right? I mean, it wasn't common. We did have Die Hard,
Superman.
and we did Lethal Weapon. But Superman was not like a trilogy. It was just a lot of the same movie, but like a sequel.
But
Yeah,
superhero movies are kind of an unfair comparison because those have vast universes that have existed for 50. Wow.
Right,
but
right.
three
It's
but
too
three
But I mean,
movies.
for a film to support the strength of each of those, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Now we're open to that. Now we have, you know, Fast and Furious 10. So
Right.
if a trilogy ends, we're like, great, I'm ready to see the next 3, right? Because they lived like that. Back then, the trilogy, that's it. You're like, this is the end. There's no more. It's done. So when she says that we're gonna see it again, for me, it just confirmed this is a cycle that just keep going and going. The 8th Neo is gonna show up. So we're gonna
Right.
see the 8th Neo. And then the 9th Neo. And it wasn't necessarily we're gonna see him like in another movie. She just says, as within our world, we're gonna keep doing this every so often just to keep the world, the machines going.
Right, because this is what I loved. They kind of started blurring the lines almost as if like this is just part of evolution. Like we raced through technology because it's what's going to ultimately replace us. Maybe
Yeah.
it will live off of us, but the machines were starting to love like that father and his daughter, even though they're like programs. It was, you know, it was really cool. And I love the, like, there's a million different versions of this going on. And I feel like in this one, Neo's going to be a villain. He's not going to be the one. He's not the hero. We're somewhere else where in that thing, he's not the one. He's Mr. Smith.
The Frenchman is coming back.
Yes. Yes.
They have to.
So
That guy
Yeah, he
rules
is.
the Matrix.
He is the Merovingian.
Yeah.
and we know that I don't know her name, but she plays Trinity. She's coming back too, right?
Yep.
So that could support the Matrix within a Matrix, because if we saw her, I mean, we know that if she dies in the real world, obviously she dies, right? But if it's a Matrix within a Matrix, maybe there's some kind of like backup or some way that like we saw her die, but that wasn't actually in the real. Like maybe there's a, you know, that's part of the reset of whatever. I'm kind of wondering how they bring her back, because I mean Morpheus makes it clear in the first film, like either way you die in either of these environments, you're just dead. So I'm really curious to see how they bring her back elegantly.
I hope they bring Fishburne back as Morpheus. Right now, I know he so far he's not coming back, but I hope that they change it. I was thinking he looks a little bit too old right now. Maybe, sorry if you're a big fan of him, but I've seen him on Black Edge, and he did not age too well like Neo or Trinity
That's
have.
not fair.
But
ages
he
like
is
Keanu Reeves.
he's in science, so he could be in the council. He could be, you know, the president of the council or the chair of the council in Zion, if that's still a thing. So I don't know more than that. I'm excited. Did you notice the father in the train station with the daughter? It was the same man taken away by the men of the Frenchman in the second movie in Reloaded. So when they're getting off the elevator, they go into the restaurant, and the host says he's been inspecting you.
Oh yeah.
Neo noticed this man being taken away. It was that man. That's when he was making that deal with the Frenchman.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was just
It was very
remembering
subtle.
that character Bane, when he's got the goatee, he's got blood down his face, but the way that he sounded just like the actor who played Mr. Smith, I was like, is it the same guy? Like, he was so good. And you're asking yourself, you know, like he's always just kind of like telling Neo what he's thinking in that moment. He's like, right now you're scared, Neo. You've probably shit yourself.
That whole thing with the guy, with the husband, wife, and daughter, I was always a little bit confused, and I never really researched fan theories. Maybe I could have found a good answer, but I'm just thinking like home to destination, right? Like he went and visited the Frenchman in his restaurant, which was in the Matrix, right?
Right.
Where did the train, where was the transport? Because the little girl still ended up in the Matrix. Like, were they just getting her out of like slave quarters because he worked for the not the architect, but for the Frenchman? Like, that always kind of confused me a little bit. Like, where was her freedom in that? Because she's just still in the Matrix, and it's not like she's just gonna like end up in the real and have like a body immediately. Like, that always kind of, I mean, maybe the Matrix within the Matrix would clear that up a little bit, but
yeah,
that always really kind of confused me a little bit.
It's a computer software, right? So in the computer software, you have different layers of the software.
Yeah.
Especially now with the new software and applications and things like that. So the Matrix itself, the world Matrix, is the UI, the user interface. What if you turn on your computer is what you see.
It's how it looks.
Behind there is a software that tells all those things what to do. And behind that, you have the original code. Right? The binary code.
C++.
C++, exactly. There you go. So that's what I always thought about. The source is the C++. This is what is base of everything. Then you have the software that controls things. So you have, for example, the Frenchman, the train. What decides what you see on your computer when it stays back, and then you have the Matrix. What actually is what you see on your computer.
10110011110.
But we don't see 110, right? Yeah.
It's like musical notes for your eyes.
Exactly.
That a computer is playing. I mean, that's as basic as it is.
Yeah, I think that's what it means in the source. You just go back to the very basic C++.
Yeah, I think for me in the fourth film, I would want to see more of the machine and the software side of things, like what made that a better place for the daughter to be to where they were, right? So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
are they essentially slaves at the level of the system that they're in? And now that she's in just the free roam matrix, like I don't know. I mean, at that point, is that little girl kind of against the code? Does she become like a vampire kid or something? Like we saw the weird werewolves and vampires and ghosts. I'm being really sarcastic here, but I mean, really
Oh
at
no,
that point,
no,
she's
you're
kind of
right.
against the
No,
Could
code,
be.
right?
yeah.
Maybe her defying and ending up there to the little girl's the new Oracle, you know?
The New Oracle. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh.
I like that.
I wonder if they'll ever kind of touch on when, in 2100 or whatever it was, the year 2100, when AI was like perfected, like if they'll do more than just talk, if they visit that time period, kind of like the early seeds of Neo.
I can only imagine that just the visual effects to see what they did 20 years ago now, how much more advanced technology is, what they did with it then. I haven't kept up with the Wachowski sisters, so I don't know. Honestly, I don't know a lot of what they've done since these films. I've probably seen them. I just didn't realize it was them. But I don't feel like they've done anything quite like this that was at least as popular. So I'm really anxious to see like how much next level is this going to be. But I also don't want to get too excited because too often, you get too excited, it becomes a letdown. So I'm going to go in with, I'm not reading any fan theories. I'll have some of my own. We can talk about our own. But I want to go in with like just baseline expectations and we'll just see what happens. I think it's going to be great regardless. I mean, Keanu Reeves isn't going to do it. I haven't seen a lot of stuff he's done that's crap. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but
I think as he got older, there become such a better actor. Can't wait to see what he's bringing to the character. A little bit, I don't know, more
more
wisdom.
complex confusion.
Oh. So the Wachowskis are responsible for bringing us The Assassins, Bound, Speed Racer, Ninja Assassin, V for Vendetta, The Animatrix, The Matrix Trilogy, Sense8, Jupiter Ascending, and Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
Not a bad resume, but fandom size, yeah, The Matrix has been the biggest thing they've done. If I'm correct, The Matrix was the first major film that they did. And they actually had to do a smaller film before that to show the production company that they actually could direct movies. No, listen, I appreciate doing The Matrix, man. I always make fun of you guys being such a geeks about superheroes and Star Wars. And then as soon as we started Matrix and I just had to remember everything I did back in The Matrix and how geeky I was about it.
Yeah, you got really into it. Like you.
I did. I remember going to buy the CD, the album, so I can listen to the music of The Matrix. I'm opening my heart to you guys right now, and but there's no cockroaches. Remember that. So it was great. I'm excited for it. We had to wait a long time. How does this rank on your all-time, movie universe out there for you? Knowing the Star Wars, I don't know, might be your best ever. Then you have Marvel second. Where did this rank? 10th, 9th?
Yeah. Look, I gotta tell you, the green is still something that is going to make this lower than it should be. But I really enjoy what it visually looks like. And if everything is tinted green to me, it looks like it's dirty. It's not clear. It's tinted one color, and that I'm gonna knock it down a little bit because it's
Didn't
gonna.
we talk about that though? That's why
yeah.
Neo's eyes removed, gave him the clarity. There's a whole
okay.
brilliance there. I'm just.
This is a safe space, Andrew. It's a safe space. It's a safe space.
Right. Like I get it. Trust me. Like I studied film. Like I know that they change lenses to change mood and all that. But it doesn't matter. It's going to affect my rewatchability because I'm not going to want to go stare at the green. But speaking of the special effects, the rain in the final battle where they're fighting and the rain is like following them and warping off of them.
Yes.
Crazy. That was so good. Like in every movie they found something new to do. Be it stopping the bullets and seeing the bullets move, or even in the car chase scene where Morpheus and the ghost are doing that like crazy. I have to watch that. I watch that on YouTube like once a week. It's so impressive, and it just keeps going and going. They keep doing something new in every movie, in all their, in the action. And that's why, 20 years later, what are they going to do in this new one? It's going to blow our minds. Yes. I wonder if they've been like working on something special effects wise for like 20 years to like get right.
Well, this is Star Wars, right? We know that Lucas, he created his own special effects company because he knew that some of the things he wanted to do were not created yet. So he's like, go spend a year creating these things. It was the same thing with them. I don't know if that ever done before the two of them, but these are the new Lucas. They went and said, hey, I want to see the speed of a bullet. I want a guy to bend over and miss bullets, and I want the camera to follow him around to do a 360. Never been done before. And he goes, what, hold my beer. Let's do it. And they created, they won awards for creating new technology.
James Cameron did the same thing with Avatar. He invented a technology to make his movie. With the the faces. But back to your question. So I think again, the green is not gonna. Green is preventing it from being in my top. I'm going to put this in my top 3 because the first movie is a flawless movie. I think there's no part of it. There's no like chink in the armor. It's a 10 out of 10. It has everything you want, even with the green, because I appreciate it and I could handle just that much of it. 2 more movies with the green is why it knocked it down out of the Star Wars universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I really loved it, and I can't wait to see the 4th one. But I'm also interested in John Wick.
Yes.
You haven't seen any of the John Wick movies?
Not 1 second.
Oh. I think the last one. I haven't seen the 3rd one myself. It's in a list. I've got to watch it. No. Pamela's seen the first one. I knew that she would fall in love. Well, I don't want to spoil. Anyway,
I've heard 1 and 3 are amazing.
Yeah, so in the 3rd one, I think it was like he kills like 10,000 people. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
No, hold on a second. No, wait a second. 1, 2, and 3 are amazing. Yeah, I have a love for John Wick, and what I love about it is that even though it's Keanu, it is different from The Matrix, completely different, and there is aspects of it that we have to do it. We have to do a first time watching John Wick.
All right, I was just gonna say, can that be the next one, or did we have another one in its way?
No, I don't know. Andrew hasn't done his yet, and I feel he's the one that with the least movies he ever watched. We watch adult movies for a long time. He just started watching adult movies last year.
Well, that's okay. I didn't hear everything you just said. I'm probably okay with that. We've got a couple of things on the list. I mean, it's just up to what you guys want to do. I mean, outside of this, the only other things we've talked about is like gangster type stuff. Like I've never, this isn't gangster, but like I haven't seen American Psycho.
Ooh.
Do we want to take a break and do a single film versus a trilogy? That's up to you guys. We've got Jaws, but then does that lead into the other Jaws movies? That's up to you, John, because you're the Jaws.
No.
It's a one and done. Okay.
Jaws 1 is a one and done. Yeah, the sequels are so dumb.
I mean, I'm okay with going straight into another. I'm not gonna say I'm not a John Wick specialist. I've only seen the first film. The second film, I haven't seen the entire film. So if you've seen all 3, Cornelio, then John Wick's the one, because John and I haven't seen him. I've seen the first one a few times. But I fell off after that. So that's a fresh take for me.
Is that anywhere like free? Do you know? Does anyone know if that's on like Hulu or Netflix or Disney Plus?
I know that
No, they're not gonna be in Disney Plus.
No, probably Hulu.
Do you know that now when you Google movies, it tells you where you can see them and what the price would be, and if they're free?
My Roku does that if I just search. Mm-hmm. But it didn't. But the Matrix trilogy didn't come up.
Well, I told you, we've all got iPhones. So if you go through that Apple TV app and just search it, I think I sent you guys a video clip of that.
Oh yeah,
you where you can watch it. Like John Wick right now.
Why don't you just ship them to John? You know, people don't write letters anymore, Andrew, and they don't borrow DVDs anymore. Let's bring it back.
I mean, I could just text you my login credentials for Movies Anywhere if you don't already have one, and you can just watch it off there. I've got the first 2 films on there. It's out there.
I'll be able to find it.
Fire Stick at this point in your life anyway, with Cody and all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, I have had that, but it's always so clunky.
I'm so impatient. That's my biggest issue with it.
It's
Like I don't want to
gets-
wait 20 minutes to watch like an episode of a show.
Right.
And then Pamela loses interest, and it's just like, I'm trying to get this to work. I'm
It's
sorry.
like doing
It's like,
this.
she's falling asleep at this point. Like I've fallen asleep with the remote. I'm just waiting for it. But yeah, I'm okay going into another trilogy if we want to.
I think so.
Unless y'all want to shoot out some of your favorite like single movies, if y'all want to break in between. But I mean, we're going back on films. It doesn't matter.
I love the trilogies. I love the
Yep.
films that have like more to them. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like we'll just stay in that lane. If they make another Matrix, we'll stay on with it. You know, they're gonna make another Star Wars something. We're just gonna keep doing that.
Well, this gives
you
us
know, like
another
these
Keanu.
connect
Keanu also.
and more Keanu, of course. Like if we're gonna
It's different.
stay on anyone right now, we should probably stay on his ass. Real
And
time.
then
No
I
Vaseline.
always wanted to say that.
we can do National Treasure after that because there's gonna be another one of those.
Oh, that's
I'm actually really excited about that. Like being an Indiana Jones fan myself. Have y'all all seen Indiana? I'm sure John has to have. I'm mad if he hadn't. Indiana Jones, yeah.
I've seen all three.
Okay, Cornelia, have you seen all three Indiana Jones?
You mean the fourth one also?
The
I
three. The
haven't-
fourth just shouldn't exist. I'm
No,
talking about.
I'm not interested.
Oh, guys, come on.
I think I've
Okay.
seen it, and it was like as bad as I knew it would be.
Well, let's be fair. Cornelia's best motivational speaker is Shia LaBeouf, so it is what it is.
Just
That's
do it.
hilarious. We're gonna go from a rated R movie with John Wick to a Disney National Treasures movie. That's
Have you seen-
hilarious.
Have you seen them all?
Yeah, I love them. Oh yeah,
Oh.
I went
haven't.
to Philadelphia.
Haven't?
Shout out, John. You
Oh,
never
man.
seen it with being a Philadelphia guy? So I went to Philadelphia.
Nicolas
on a,
Cage, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage. On a college honors class trip to Philadelphia, and on the way there in the bus, they played the first one, which we've watched. I watched it already before, but we played it because it has so many locations in Philadelphia. And then what we made it fun was that week we just went to those different locations.
That's cool.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's
That's
a fun,
awesome.
It really is a fun movie. Like if you like
It's a
Indiana
fun
Jones,
movie. They're really fun.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen the first one, and I liked it, but I didn't see the other ones. I think there was like a time where I checked out and was like only into television, and I couldn't. I wasn't enjoying movies, and then I switched back. It's really weird. It's hard to explain. I don't
We go through
understand
those
it.
phases. We all go
Yeah.
through those interesting those.
You know, like I got like
Games.
super into TV and series, and busting through these episodes, and now I'm back on movies, and I love them.
And you've watched Lost 20 times by now too. So.
And I was just gonna say, and there was also like a decade where the only thing I watched was Lost, over and over and over.
Remember, any given time I called you, I was my first question would always have to be like, "Hey, which
What
episode
episode?
of Lost are you on?" I'm sure that's what you're watching.
Yeah, and then for a while it was The Office.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with that.
Couldn't get
Yeah, I was
enough.
gonna make fun of you because of Lost, but now you said The Office. I'm like, okay.
Have you
you're
never
cool
watched
again.
Lost, Cornelia?
No, I watched the first
Ever?
2-3 episodes, and I watched the first 2-3 episodes, then I just got bored.
John wants to do a whole nother show of your first watch of that, those
No,
shenanigans.
I already know how
There's
it
like-
ends. Don't worry about it. No, I already know how it
But
ends.
well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Why would you
It's a
know
shame.
that?
It's a shame.
Why would you know that? Like you
I
you're that guy.
I
and
just
had to
like
Google it?
to. I know. I like reading. I like news.
Yeah.
So I keep up with news all the time, and I love. I tell you guys, Bill, I love filmmaking. I love good shows. I love good stories, and I keep up with. I keep up with Game of Thrones, even though I've never watched it. I'm never going to watch it. I know what happened. I know Jon Snow was alive.
I just assumed that you were being that guy at that time that like had to look up the ending and then figure out which friends hadn't had time to watch it yet just to spoil it for him. Because Cornelio not shamelessly, but Cornelio definitely got dug into recently by our old buddy Stephen Lewis, assuming that if Cornelio was an Uber driver, his first question to every person getting in the cab was, "What's your biggest regret in life?" So don't try and shy away from being the disruptor because you definitely can be that sometimes, and we love you for it.
John hasn't
Of course.
experienced that yet.
What, you being a disruptor?
Sometimes we have to check on each other, and it requires some topics that most people don't want to talk about. So
Wow.
but maybe by me talking about it now actually helps you deal with those demons.
That's like the reason I got into radio, and it's why I loved Howard Stern, because when he interviewed people, he asked them these super uncomfortable questions.
Yes.
But like, it's because everyone's afraid to talk about it. But there were important things to talk about, and he would get reality out of people. You know, he would pull out who the person really is and almost kind of cause the person to self-examine themselves on that couch in that studio with the shock jock.
A guy says to a girl something like, hey, I need to tell you something. And the girl's like, hey, are you gay? And he's like, wait, no, but why you asked me that? He goes, well, I don't know. Maybe you are, and nobody have ever asked you about it. So that's whenever you came out, and I'm just trying to help you out.
What if they were right?
What if they were right? Exactly.
Right. I'm not trying to be mean. But my point was that it's so fun talking about the uncomfortable shit. There's so much bullshit that you say all day. Oh. That's just like it's like an autopilot response. So when you say, you know, when was the last time you shaved your pubes? No matter what, it's a lot funnier than any other question I could have asked you about, you know, the weather in South Carolina today.
I say the church answer when you ask somebody, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. How many marriages could we help if people would really give it the true answer? No, you know what? Right now, my marriage sucks.
All right. Well, that in closing, guys, the Matrix trilogy, I love it. As I said, I'm going to put it up there with my top 3 for now. That could change. My mind changes all the time. Star Wars and Marvel rotate every other week. We're going to do John Wick, the John Wick trilogy, soon to be quad. What do they call it?
I don't know. Cornelio made up a word earlier saying thrilogy, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Thrilogy?
Thrilogy.
Trademark. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Like I said, make sure to leave your comments in the comment section on what you thought of the Matrix trilogy. Have you not watched it yet and have to have your first time watching? I love you. Bye.
Oh, hey. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. And if you're finding me for the first time, I do trailer reaction videos, hot take movie reviews, news briefs on anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. You'll love it. Thanks.